Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another Opposition View show. We're looking ahead to our home game, actually it's an away game against Burnley in the Premier League, and to discuss all things Burnley, we've got Richard Steele, who's kindly joining us from the Burnley podcast, No Nay Never. He's going to give us some insight into Burnley and tell us what we can expect from them on Saturday. First of all, I'll have to ask you, Richard, where did the title No Nay Never come from for your podcast?
So the title comes from it's the main song that Burnley sing. So it's No Nay Never, which is actually an Irish song, and it's dedicated to our neighbours, Blackburn Rovers. So that's where the No Nay Never podcast comes from. So you might hear it on Saturday after we get the win.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see on that front. But as always, we do start on this show always with how your season's been so far. It's been a real mixed bag, it seems. 2 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws, so very much right in the middle, you're 11th.
Yeah.
It seems you've been going quietly about your business without any real shocks. How do you think the season's gone from where you stand?
Yeah, I think obviously as a Burnley fan, expectations are very different to what Everton fans would expect. And after 7 games, if somebody said you'd be 11th, having played 4 away and 3 at home, yeah, we're more than happy with that. Certainly considering the start we had last season where we was really struggling. And we've been strong at home so far. So we had 3 home games. First game a 3-0 win against Southampton. In the middle was a 3-0 loss to Liverpool, which, really tough game. At the moment they look the strongest team in the league, which isn't good news for Everton fans.
Really, no.
And then we beat Norwich last time out 2-0. So I'm expecting us to give you a good game, certainly a better one than we gave you last season.
Saturday's game could be what you call the battle of the England keepers. Nick Pope's starting to come back into form a bit for you, and our own Jordan Pickford's been a bit shaky for us in the last few games. So obviously Pope got into the England squad for the 2018 World Cup. He's not been seen as much lately, but could he be looking to seize his opportunity again ahead of the Euros next year?
Yeah, possibly. He got into the last squad, probably his third choice keeper behind Pickford and Heaton. And I think just as an out-and-out goalkeeper, I think he's very effective. He's a good shot stopper, a good decision maker. He's a tall lad, so he comes off his line well. I just think the one area that lets him down and probably would mean he doesn't play regularly for England is his kicking. Obviously, Southgate wants to play out from the back, something Pickford is very strong at. And Pope's kicking, I would say, is very, very average. But the way we play, we're not looking for somebody to play intricate passes, along the back or even play it into midfield. So he does a really good job for us. Going back to Pickford, I think he's had an interesting start to the season. Seems to, just continuously just make silly mistakes for Everton. Maybe I'm being harsh there. I don't know, but.
Well, for the most part, he started the season quite well. He had some very, very good performances early on, but the last 2 games he's made costly errors, like you say. I think Sheffield United, getting beat at home off Sheffield United was a real shock for us, and I think Pickford was a fault for both of those goals. He was also a fault for Man City's winner, where we did actually play well and maybe deserved the point against City, but again, that was his mistake. Maybe that sort of took the game away from us there, but for them, it's a very, like I say, very much a mixed bag from Pickford. He can sometimes turn up and be absolutely fantastic, and then, like you say, he can just implode. You just don't know what you're going to get. He's a real live wire as well, as you know.
Yeah.
So like I say, it's worth keeping an eye on Jordan Pickford, and like you say, you've got your big strikers there, so you never know. I think it will be a case of maybe see how Pickford responds to a few crosses. It could be which is usually the way Burnley applied themselves anyway, with the likes of Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes usually play together up front. So 2 physical strikers who give any goalkeeper a bit of grief from time to time. So it'll be interesting to see how Pickford handles that, given that he's not been in the best of form in the last few games. Yeah,
certainly. I think if you go back to when we won at Turf Moor 2-1, not last season, the season before then, I think we targeted Pickford. I think certainly for the second goal, we put a corner into the box, and I think Wood headed it from only about 4 yards out. So Pickford,
that's right,
yeah. So even the first goal, the ball was played through by Lowton, and Barnes scored. Seemed a little bit slow getting off his line. So I think that's something we'll definitely look to target, is getting the balls into the box, especially from the set pieces, and try and hit that 6 yard box and get on the end of it. That'll be a real key weapon for us for the game on Saturday.
For sure, given Everton's record from set pieces of late has been wretched defensively. I mean, we've let some very silly goals in Sheffield United, Bournemouth, Wolves before that. Even though we won the game, we conceded a silly goal from a set piece. So it's certainly going to be a struggle against the sides who are so good from set pieces like Burnley are.
Yeah, possibly. And I think that's quite interesting. Like, you've got Michael Keane and Mina at the back, who you think should be two strong physical centre halves. So it is surprising really that you do struggle from set pieces. And I don't think it's just set pieces from us. I think we do like to, get the ball out wide with McNeil, who's been a real find for us since he's broken into the team. Our fullbacks, do like to overlap and help out with the attacks when we get enough bodies forward. And yeah, that'll be a big strength from us. I think I read something this week that Chris Wood's actually scored the most headed goals since the start of last season out of any other Premier League striker. It did surprise me, to be honest. But like you said, yeah, I think with Barnes and Wood, that'll be our main threat on Saturday.
I think that's the beauty of Burnley, and the reason you do well is because you do have a plan and you play to each other's strengths. And I think that's maybe an issue that Everton have been having of late, where people aren't sure what the plan is, whereas I think Sean Dyche couldn't be any clearer in how he sets his tactics up, which probably makes life a lot easier for your players as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're good at what we do. We're not going to be a team who's going to pass the ball around, like promote a team like Norwich, linking in the midfield, but we're very good. We play 4-4-2. We're one of the few teams in the Premier League who do play with two strikers, and we feed off second balls. We love that physical battle. So yeah, I think last season, going back to when we did lose quite heavily at Turf Moor to Everton on Boxing Day, that's the first time in Dyche's stint at Burnley where he started to change the team, started to change his formation. And I think since that game, we've actually gone back to basics. 4-4-2, two central midfielders who'll just hold, keep it simple in the middle. They won't go massively adventurous in terms of attacking the box. Get the ball out wide, especially to the left with McNeil, and get those crosses into the box. And going back to what you were saying about Everton not having a clear style of play, Everton is a team I do follow quite closely. I've got a lot of close friends who are Everton fans. I actually work for a company that's based in Liverpool. So there's a lot of Everton fans who work there, and they all say the same thing to me. We don't actually know what type of team we are. Are we a counter-attacking team? Are we a possession team? And I think that's something that Silva's got to work out, whether he's given the chance. But and I think it's to the advantage of other teams, because when Everton's not playing well, I don't think they have that same fear factor as they did maybe a few years ago.
I think you're right there for sure, because I think the fans are quite disgruntled. Ironically, again, what is Burnley's strength, like the consistency of the formation, is Everton's actually weakness, where a lot of our fans are sick of Marco Silva playing the same formation all the time and are thinking it needs to be freshened up. And like we saw with Burnley last season, maybe that can hinder you a little bit as well when you change it up. But
yeah.
But equally, I do feel like we need to be more tactically flexible, and maybe that'll be the key to us unlocking teams like Burnley, which is, funnily enough, the next question I was going to ask you anyway. Many have spoken about your low block tactics and how the likes of Everton have struggled to overcome teams who set up that way. So there's surely no reason for you guys to change your tactics, given that Everton have been known to struggle against those tactics anyway.
Yeah, I expect us to set up pretty much quite deep. What we do quite clever is when we don't have the ball, Ashley Barnes actually goes back into midfield and almost like plays as like a fifth midfielder, and we leave Wood up front. But yeah, I expect us to play counter attack. One area we do struggle, if we do go behind in a game, and we've got to maybe push the initiative on and try and attack the other try and attack the other team. That's when we start to leave gaps. And that's when our players, maybe because they've not quite got the pace, like Cork in midfield and Ben Mee at centre half, Peters at full back, that's when they tend to get exposed. But now we've got Dwight McNeil in the team, who's, I don't know how much you know about him.
He's a very good player, I've seen him.
Yeah, I think I don't want to sound like I'm being hyperbolic with this, but I think he's a player who could really play at the top level, like the top six level. And what he's given us is that counter-attacking option where he can carry the ball up the field with pace, and get us through that transition from defence to attack. a lot quicker than what we've had before. But if you go behind on Saturday, you will find it difficult to, you might get a draw, but you'll find it difficult to win the game then, because we do then tend to sit in our shape and make it difficult for opposition teams.
Well, it's funny you should say that anyway. Like we talk about the low block situation, but Everton haven't come from behind to win for quite a long time.
Okay,
We've never done it under Marco Silva. We haven't done it since for nearly 2 years now.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Came from behind to win a game. It's a really, really poor record we've got in that position when we're in those kind of positions. And again, it comes back to the players and the setup. And there's a lot of things that don't feel quite right at Everton. And sorry, go on.
No, I'm just right in saying this again. Probably do follow Everton a little bit closer than some other teams. One thing I noticed against Sheffield United was that you was playing Delph and Schneiderlin with your two defensive midfielders. Is that a tactic you've been adopting a lot in games? Because to me it seems, is there a need to play two of them against some of the lesser teams?
So many of our fans agree with that. It used to be Idrissa Gana Gueye last season, and sometimes it was Andre Gomez, but he's injured, and that's another issue that may be hindering us early on in the season, is that our two main defensive mids, Gomez and Gabaman, are both injured, so we're stuck with Schneiderlin and Delph, whether we like it or not. But alternatively, again, it's a case of we should freshen the formation, the setup up maybe a little bit, and maybe move Gylfi Sigurdsson back and drop one of those guys, go two up front like Burnley do, and just see what it brings, because it's all a little bit stale at the moment.
Yeah, it seems that. And I watched the game against Wolves, which was obviously on Sky, and I thought Delph was your best player actually in that game.
He was very good.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting to say that. Would you not say he's adapted that well then?
No, I think Delph's been one of our better players.
Yeah.
Certainly in the midfield, he's been one of the best players. I think our midfield's our big issue at the moment, even though we're quite strong personnel-wise.
Yeah.
I don't think it's being set up correctly. I think we need to change that a little bit. Change the formation, perhaps. But
so what formation would you change it to?
I'd go for a flat 4-3-3 and maybe just either drop Gylfi Sigurdsson to the bench or drop him into a deeper role, and basically get players starting to make runs from midfield, because we look so stifled in the middle of the park, and none of our passes ever seem to go through the middle. It always seems to be a case of get the ball out wide, just as Burnley do, but you guys have two imposing strikers in the box, whereas we only have one.
Yeah, whether it's Calvert-Lewin or Moise Keane, who's still two young players, aren't they? I think it's got potential.
Certainly, and they are good presences in the area, but they can't do it all by themselves. And I'd imagine, just as you said last season with Sean Dyche, when he went to the one up front, you were struggling a little bit. Yeah,
we was. I think there's a couple of key issues. So when we went to one up front last season, we were changing who the striker was. Sometimes it was Vidra, who's not really been seen much. Then it was Volks, who's obviously left now. Then it was Barnes. Then it was Barnes. Then it was Wood. So at that time, Dyche didn't know who his best striker was. Also, a big factor from us struggling with that 4-5-1. I don't know if you recall, but when we beat you 1-0 at Goodison Park, and we actually scored a really good team goal. Yeah, when Hendrick finished off, we had the four playing forwards in that midfield. And personally, he's the best player I've ever seen for Burnley. He was like just a real standout, but he just struggled with injuries, and I think that's one of the reasons we actually signed him in the end. But when he stopped playing in that team and he wasn't in that midfield five, we didn't have anyone who was good enough to go and receive the ball off the defence, to link the defence and the attack, and be that player who can really control the midfield. So when he dropped out of the team, we lost a lot of quality there.
It's funny you should say that. I'm discussing Andre Gomez right now, and I think that may be the same issue we've got right now with Gomez out injured, that we're struggling to control that midfield and sort of get a flow going in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I think when you've got five in midfield and you've only got one striker, I think you need one real top quality midfielder who can control the game for you and keep possession, and like I said before, be that link. And if you've not got that player, I think your striker can get very, very isolated.
Absolutely. I think strikers are going to get isolated regardless of how good the midfielders are, if the midfielders don't make forward runs as well, which is a real problem we've got with Morgan Schneiderlin, who never seems to cross the halfway line, and Fabian Delph, who does get involved more, but again likes to stay deeper. So we don't. And again, Gylfi Sigurdsson even isn't one to bomb it into the penalty area. So we don't really have any sort of threats from coming in from behind the striker, which was something that when David Moyes was Everton manager, we used to have a hell of a lot of with the likes of Fellaini, Tim Cahill, and players like that who used to get themselves into the area to support the main striker.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you're going back to Moyes. It was a point I was actually going to bring up. I think when you had Moyes, obviously you had less money and than what you do now. Maybe even a quality of the team on paper was below. Maybe I'm being harsh there again. You'll know more than me on that. But you had a style, you had an identity.
Certainly,
yeah. Yeah, it was tough to face Everton, especially going to Goodison Park. Nobody wanted to go to Goodison Park at all, and it was almost a fortress. Where now, even though you have got a good home record, I just don't think you're the same intimidating team as you was under Moyes.
I think it's more intimidating for the top sides because the fans are up for it.
Yeah.
We have a good record against the top 6 at home, but for sides below us in the league, the fans just don't get up for the occasion. And I think the style of play isn't helping the fans get on their feet because, like I say, it's a little bit stifled. And I think there needs to be a bit more energy in this team. And when that happens, I think that really gets the fans going.
Yeah, definitely. I thought after you went 1-0 down against City, it was almost like you had like a nothing to lose attitude. I thought you put in a really good performance.
A lot of people have said that, yeah.
Yeah, at 1-1, the game really could have gone either way. Obviously, the free kick went in, which then City took control of the game. But like you were saying, it's easy to get up for the games against the bigger teams, isn't it? I think you just got to replicate that in more games more often. Where with us, in Premier League terms, even though we've been in there a few seasons, every game's a big game for us.
Particularly at home.
Yeah, particularly at home, because the home games are where you want to pick up your points. And there's still almost that excitement factor still about being in the Premier League. Especially when I started going watching Burnley in the old Division 2 away at Grimsby Town and everything. So, I think with Everton, the players are there. You just need that style of play and get that atmosphere going and get it Goodison, because when the atmosphere gets going, it is one of the best grounds and the most intimidating grounds to play at.
Well, I don't think many teams like going to Turf Moor right now. So
no,
I think that's because of the setup and everyone knows what to expect from Burnley.
Yeah,
but it's a case of can you handle it?
Yeah, I think so. And then when you went to Turf Moor last season and you battered us, I was
stunned by that.
I was stunned in terms. I didn't think we'd get beat so heavily, but I think that was the first time under Dyche's reign that you was going to the game not confident of anything. We were second bottom in the league. We got like 12 points from the first half of the season. As I alluded to before, he was changing personnel, changing formations. We still had Joe Hart in net. He was
really poor, wasn't he?
He was poor, yeah, really poor. And Eaton was on the bench at that time. And I think that Everton game last season was like the catalyst for our kind of, our turnaround in the second half of the season.
I think, ironically, games against Everton for both you guys and West Ham the year before were the catalyst, because we beat West Ham 4-0 the year before that. And both of those games sort of changed your seasons because they dropped Joe Hart after that game.
Yeah. We put Eaton in. McNeil made his first Premier League start in that the game after as well.
So, like I say, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. But I think everyone who's had Joe Hart seems to have made a massive improvement when they've dropped him.
Yeah, it was one of them. Obviously, Pope in the Europa League qualifiers got a really bad shoulder injury. He dislocated his shoulder and it was a bad one. So he was out. And at that time, Heaton was still struggling with a groin injury, but it wasn't anything serious. And we had Lindegaard in goal for the qualifiers. We used to be at United.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And then we signed Hart, but then Heaton was fit again. And for some reason, we just seemed to play him for like the first half of the season, no matter how bad his performances were. And I think what Heaton did as well last season when he come in, he's a leader as well. He organised the back four better. He pushed everyone a little bit up the pitch. Just the Hart one's strange. Like, I wouldn't say... Go on.
Out of interest, is Joe Hart still on your books?
Yeah, he's actually number 2 keeper now, so he'll be on the bench on Saturday. Yeah, I think we tried to flog him and nobody would sign him. So yeah,
It's
I think
strange how far his career's fallen, really, isn't it? Given he was City's number one just a few years ago.
yeah, I think obviously when Guardiola came, he maybe seen through Hart, maybe seen the errors in his game and the mistakes he's made that nobody else maybe previously seen. And maybe it's just damaged his confidence that bad that he's never really been able to recover from it properly, or maybe because he was at City, he just doesn't have the same motivation to play at the clubs that he's gone to. But like you said, it's a massive career fall from being winning Premier Leagues, England's number one, touted as one of the best keepers in the world, to then being Burnley's number 2 keeper.
He's even lost a sponsorship deal with Head and Shoulders, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has now. Yeah, I've not seen him popping up on the adverts anymore.
How the mighty have fallen. On to one of your players now, and one of the surprise news stories that came this week was Inter Milan's rumoured pursuit of Jay Rodriguez. How's that come to pass, given that he hasn't really stood out much since he's come back to Burnley? Why has he suddenly got interest from Inter Milan?
Yeah, you hear a lot of rumours, don't you? So you don't know what's true and what's not true.
Certainly, but
it
did raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, I seen it the other day on my lunch break, and I was like, "Where's that one come from?" He scored on Saturday, which was really good to see. He's a local lad. Burnley fans, whenever they get somebody come through, they always accept that players might leave. I think that's part of the nature of being a Burnley fan. So we've wished him well all his career, and for him to come back was, it's just really nice to see as a sentimental value. And I wouldn't say it's not that. Yeah, you are right. He's not stood out, but just purely because he's not played because of the partnership between Wood and Barnes. But he scored on Saturday, and I think we'll start to see a little bit more of him now because Dice tinkered with a 4-3-3. He come on at half time for Jack Cork, and we changed to that formation. I don't think we'll be starting with that formation anytime soon. But I think if the plan A is not working, so say if we're losing against Everton and 4-4-2 isn't working, I think we might see a 4-3-3 formation with Rodriguez coming on part of the front three. But yeah, the Inter Milan rumour, I can't see that happening. I'll be very surprised. But if it does, wish him well.
It's just a strange one when you consider what... Like, we've got Inter Milan are about to play Barcelona tonight. It's like, could you imagine Jay Rodriguez lining up against Barca?
Yeah, playing up front with Alexis Sanchez and Lukaku. There was one, remember the rumour mill that was doing a couple of years ago when Chelsea wanted a target man?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so there was rumours with Ashley Barnes going there, which would have been interesting.
Yeah, there's been some very strange ones of late.
Yeah, we get all sorts of stuff. We were linked with Gary Medell in the summer. He used to play for Cardiff.
Oh, he was insane.
Yeah, absolute nuts. So we was linked with him. I even seen Ribery was linked with Sheffield United, weren't he, in the summer?
Yeah, Ribery was linked with a real, some bizarre clubs all over Europe.
Yeah.
So some, like I say, some very strange things going on these days. You never know what's going to happen.
No.
Right, ahead of the game this weekend, what sort of lineup and formation? We've been talking about the 4-4-2 sort of low block tactics, but what sort of personnel are we looking at?
Yeah, so I think it'll be the same 4-4-2 again, possibly with a change to 4-3-3 if we're losing the game. But we've started with the same team that we've started the last few games. So Pope in goal, Lowton and Peters fullbacks, Tarkowski and me centre half, Cork, Westwood, middle of midfield with Hendrick and McNeil out wide with Wood and Barnes up front. Unless there's an injury or anything like that, I'd be very, very surprised if he changes the team.
Yeah, but I think, like I say, it's a very consistent setup under Sean Dyche, and everyone knows their role, so there'll be no reason to change it, given that you've been in relatively good form of late.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've got that team. It's settled. Like you said, everybody knows the jobs, especially at home. We've been looking strong, and I think we'll actually take the game to Everton a little bit more. Like you said, we'll do the low block and defend, but in the home game against Norwich, the first 20 minutes we come out, we pressed. We pressed and the intensity was high, and I expect the same again.
So who do you reckon could hurt Everton the most? Who's the real danger man, do you reckon?
Yes, obviously, you mentioned before the threat and the physicality. of Barnes and Wood, both scoring goals. Wood's gone on a little bit of a scoring run last couple of games. He's got 3 and 2, and he's very much a confidence player. And when he's in a run of scoring goals, that's when he tends to go on these longer runs. But as I was alluding to before, I think McNeil will be our main attacking threat on Saturday. But not an attacking threat, but our most consistent player this season has been Tarkowski at the back. He's been excellent for us.
I think that's the case, really. I think if Burnley are to be successful, I think you've got to trouble us higher up the pitch, though. So I think those two strikers, Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood, if they're on their A game, we could have a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Particularly at Turf Moor.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, a lot of, people who I speak to who are Everton fans just say Keane has struggled a little bit since he started, since with Everton. He's had good spells and, he has actually struggled physically, which surprises me because at Burnley he was so dominant.
It's a strange one. I think he lacks pace a little bit, I think.
Yeah, he does lack pace, yeah.
Which, I mean, maybe because Burnley are a low block team, and maybe he suits the low block because he's always deep.
Yeah.
Whereas Marco Silva wants us to push up and he gets caught out for his pace a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think at Burnley, because we do defend so deep, he's not having to, turn around and chase strikers a lot because, he's almost just so behind the play. But yeah, I do wish him well at Everton. He was a great player for us. So
he seems like a really likable character as well.
Yeah.
I think fans had really warned to him going into the start of this season. I think it's turned a little sour of late because he's underperformed and he's made a few errors in the last couple of games. So it'd be interesting to see how he kicks on from here. I hope he does do well because he is a really likable player and he seems like he has got it in him to be a really good player for us.
Yeah, he can do, but like you said, if he's not got that pace, I think any centre half, if you do want to get to the top level, you need to have that pace in your locker, don't you? But yeah, like you said, he is a likable lad. He's got a good attitude. We always works hard. So, myself and any other Burnley fan would just wishes him well, in his Everton and England career.
Hopefully. What about this weekend then? What's your prediction for the game?
Obviously, I am going to back us. I think it'll be the scoreline, which it was a couple of seasons ago. I think we'll win 2-1. And I'm backing both of our strikers to get on the score sheet. But it'll be a really, really difficult game. Everton will cause us a lot of problems. One player that does concern me is Richarlison. When he played against us last season, I thought he was excellent both games. And I think he doesn't get enough credit for his physicality. He's a real skillful, technically good player. I think he's got a little bit of everything. So I'm going 2-1 Burnley, but, a really, really tough game.
I think it's hard as an Everton fan to ever back Everton away from home. Our away form is absolutely shocking. I think we'll get a point. I'm going to go for a 1-1. It's never good. I can't see us scoring too many at Turf Moor, so I'm going with one apiece.
Yeah, I think my heart and a bit of Burnley bias says 2-1, but I think if I was putting money on any score, I think I would say 1-1. And I wouldn't be over upset, driving home from Turf Moor if that was the score.
I mean, I think all Everton fans are desperate for a win because of the situation we're in right now, but it's hard to see where the win's going to come from, given how poor we've been in the Premier League. So maybe if we turn up the way we did against City, but it's very unlikely given that we are very much a big game team. We only seem to bother when there's an occasion, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's whether the players can get themselves up for it. If they do, we could be in for a good game, but I'm going for a 1-1 draw. It seems the most likely outcome given the sort of clash of tactics and what we sort of know about both sides and how we set up.
Yeah, I think that's like you said. I think that could be. I think that's a fair prediction, and I think there's a good chance that could happen. I don't think it'll be, 4-5-0 like it was to you last season. But at the same time, we definitely won't win by a big margin either, and I think we'll struggle to keep a clean sheet against you as well.
Well, that's quite. That gives me a bit of hope because, I mean, no one ever fancies themselves to get on the score sheet at Burnley. I don't think even the best side. So,
yeah,
fair play.
Yeah, well, it's one of them. We have been defending quite well, but just we have been prone to giving the ball away a little bit in midfield, which is our weak point. I think that's where part of the game where you can really take advantage of us is with Westwood's done well. I think Cork, he's been a solid, player in the Premier League, but I think, his age is catching up on him a little bit. And this season, he's probably been our weak link. So I think he's someone who you could target in midfield. I think if you can press him and you can win the ball off him, that might give you opportunities to counter-attack us.
It is very interesting because you never know what Everton's going to turn up. That's just the way we are.
Well, I think it's the same. Yeah, I think Burnley's kind of on a consistent level. I think, we're never that bad or we're never that good where we're going back to teams. Like you said, I think Everton, you have got better players than us. There's no denying that. It just depends what, how consistent you are. And like you said, what Everton turn up.
Consistency is key, and I think that's the one thing Everton have lacked for a very long time. So it will be interesting to, like you say, to see who turns up on the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Finally, we always end on a bit of a light note.
Okay.
What's your favourite film and why?
Oh, my favourite film. I'm gonna say my favourite film is Gladiator, and it's a bit like it's a bit like watching Burnley because it's an emotional roller coaster. It's up and down. You don't know what you're gonna get from it.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, are you not entertained? Sometimes when for the Steve Cottrell days at Burnley when we went 19 without winning in the Championship, yeah, he's definitely not entertained in those days.
No, well, he's come a long way, to be fair. If I'm not mistaken, you were in the League One side when I was a kid, so...
Yeah, you look the similar age to me. Like, I'm 26 now, and I started watching Burnley when we was in League One against your likes. I think my first game was against Notts County.
They've gone the opposite direction.
Yeah, they've fallen. So, yeah, Notts County, Grimsby, Port Vale, those kind of teams. And to see us then, I never even thought we'd get promoted to the Premier League. We've done it how many times now? 3 times since I've been watching that. For playoff second and champions, which has been amazing. And then to top it off, seeing Burnley play Europe was just amazing. Something I never thought I'd see. But who knows? We might do it again in the near future because you never know with the Premier League.
I think that's the thing about any game. You never know what's going to happen. So it's over to the game on Saturday now. And you've just got to see what happens. May the best team win.
Yeah, definitely. And good luck on Saturday, but not too much luck.
Yeah, same to you, mate.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Richard, for joining us. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Of course, it's Burnley versus Everton. We are away from home, just because I made a bit of a boo-boo earlier on in the show. Yeah. We are away from home against Burnley on Saturday. We've got plenty more content going to be coming your way in the build up to that, and of course, reaction after the game, whatever happens. Fingers crossed. And so be sure to tune in for all of that. Give the video a comment, a like, and a subscribe. And thank you guys again for watching on the Toffee Blues.